What's going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back from the OPTC video, and in today's video we're taking a look at some PvP and doing a bit of a meta guide for you guys on defending. Now, defending is an art form in the PvP meta that changes so drastically and is so finicky depending on where you sit in championship, exhibition, block matches, and where you rank. But a lot of people ask me, Stump, what do you use as your defensive team, or how do you get defensive wins when it comes to PvP? Well, as I mentioned, there are a bunch of different teams within a particular meta that can help you get those defensive wins. However, the defensive wins don't necessarily mean all that much. A lot of people, high-end players, are pushing for people to put up easy defense teams so that way we can farm Pirate Rumble tickets. And look, I'm all for that, but it does seem that a lot of people do like to put up big old teams anyway. So, as you guys can see here, we are in a Super Pirate Rumble Championship at the moment. I'm sitting in the top 1,000, and I just wanted to show you guys what's going around within the meta at the moment. If you guys take a look underneath me right here, I've put a bunch of characters that are all very, very good defending options, and we're going to go through a couple of teams that I've sort of thrown together for you guys that do work very, very nicely as defensive options, and why they actually work well as defensive options. So, let's take a look at the meta at the moment. There are some particular teams that sort of float around that are quite good, and obviously teams change depending on like stuff like investments, the rule set, and stuff like that. The first one is like Free Spirit. Free Spirit, like, it's just everywhere. The Luffy Zoro combination is so damn powerful. The waifus are so incredibly good. Sai at the moment has made a huge resurgence, obviously with the release of 6+ Gear 5 Luffy. Cerebral are very, very good against Free Spirit characters, so they like to pop up quite a bit. But primarily within defending, you'll find class-based teams. Very rarely will you find a team like that bottom team where they're using a complete quick team so that the enemy can sort of go, hey, sweet, I'll bring a bunch of Dex characters. They do have Luffy Yamato on the back for some back-ended sort of stuff there. But as you guys can see, majority of the teams that we are finding are either class-based teams like the Powerhouse teams here at the top, Free Spirit team on the bottom, or utilizing a majority of units that work very, very well on rainbow-based teams. Sai, as I mentioned, does have very, very good results against Int. Int does have very good results against Sai, so those particular teams do seem to pop up a little bit more frequently than other teams. As you guys can see at the top there, there's more of like a Dexy kind of build. Free Spirits down the bottom once again. Like I said, Free Spirits, man, Free Spirits are literally everywhere. Like, actually everywhere. But if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. With that said, let's take a look at some defensive teams that I put together for you guys. Will hopefully help you get some defense wins if that's what you guys are after. Alright, firstly, this is the defensive team that I actually have set at the moment. It's a bit baity, to be honest, in the sense that we have Usopp as our 5th member. Usopp can give cooldowns. This particular Usopp is really, really good on defensive-based teams. Because what you can actually do is you can actually get his Rumble ability maxed. And then basically the way that he works is you want him to just, like, die. And if you really want to, you can run bench units that come in like King, characters like massive nuking characters like Kid, Luffy Yamato. Those types of units can sort of just come in and just reap the benefits of what this Usopp's providing. The combination of Oden, the Sai Oden, and the waifus has been a predominant force within the defensive meta for a very, very long time. When defending, you either need to bank on RNG to sort of just slither some wins, and that's the way this team operates. Stall out the opponent, basically win on a count out, or have some sort of baity option where they sort of just don't realize what's going on, and you trick them into thinking they've got a team that works really well, but really you've planned for that. This particular team, as I mentioned, is designed for the RNG aspect of something like Oden and the waifus to use their action bind and their confusion, stop the specials, and then just have Luffy and Zoro go absolutely AWOL, which just is a treat. I've kept it as a 4-man team because, like, I don't want it to be like crazy hard for everyone, but at the same time, like, I do want to try and pick up some like cheeky wins here and there. It does seem to be getting me a couple, but not like a whole heap. The next sort of build that does a similar thing is the Free Spirit team. As I mentioned earlier, the Free Spirit team, it's everywhere. The Otama combination with the waifus and Oden makes them go very, very fast. And then when Otama dies, you can sort of have Luffy Yamato sort of come back into the fray. You can easily do stuff like this as well and have Otama die really, really fast. The idea then is then Luffy Yamato comes in with the last 50 seconds and they just go AWOL. Luffy, Yamato are one of the best defensive units. Oden and Waifu combination is two of the best characters you can use. And the Gear 5, 6+, and Zoro combination is absolutely disgusting at the moment because their revive mechanics, the counter, the damage through defense, it's just they're doing so damn much for Free Spirit teams. So if you're looking for a really, really good option with Free Spirit, you have to be running Oden, you have to be running the Waifus. But if you want other people to sort of just like to bink out the wins, Waifus can be a very, very annoying option to use, and you probably will cop some slack for it. However, Waifus are actually a striker as well, so you can run them on a striker built team, kind of like this one right here. That way you can still bring Luffy Yamato at the back end, and then you can use something like Whitebeard and Roger. You have very good units like Kid. As you can see, I've added Kid down here below as well. As Kid can just go through defense. You can use him on the bench and have him come in with a special and just wipe a team. King does something very, very similar, but with a 20 cost rather than a legend cost. Sasaki and Jack are absolutely fantastic for the striker team, and you can do some really, really cool stuff with HP cuts here. Roger Whitebeard obviously just absolute demolition derby, and strikers are very, very hard to actually take down. They're not impossible to defeat, but because of Roger Whitebeard and Waifu on the same team, you are playing with that RNG aspect that I spoke about earlier. The RNG aspect of Kid hitting the entire team, the confusion aspect of the Waifus, and then Roger Whitebeard doing their thing. This is a very strength-based team, so quick-based teams do have a very, very good chance of actually taking this down, but Roger Whitebeard sort of just changes the game, and then Luffy Yamato, the back end, can do some really, really, really cool stuff there. If you want to move away from like Luffy Yamato and stuff like the Oden Waifu combination, the Free Spirit team still has predominant force in terms of its side-based aspects. You can do some cool stuff with like Yamato off the bench, have Yamato come in instead of Luffy Yamato. That way you can run like the Oden Gear 5 combination, whether you have 6-star or 6+. You're getting a lot of cooldowns with this team as well, thanks to Otama and thanks to Sanji. You have shields with Momo and that. And this team can not only do good damage at the back end, but it can also stall out teams. So the stall out factor I do find is probably the most effective method to try and pick up wins when it comes to defensive-based teams, because people go into the fight expecting that they know what's going to happen, and then they just don't, because you either stall out the fight to a position where they just expect their team to win. Teams like these ones over here with like Kid, Roger Whitebeard, Waifus, Zoro, all of these big boppers, people see these teams and they sort of just hit the refresh button. So whilst they do work well at picking up wins at the very high echelons of PvP, especially in championships in the top 1000, when people are forced to fight you, basically, especially in the top 10, like when people are forced to fight your team and you build it out like disgusting, like something like this, it can be very, very hard for the opposition to actually find something to actually take it down. As mentioned though, the stall out strat, in my opinion, works the best. Now, obviously, these types of teams are more designed for that middle area of championship expedition blocks and stuff like that. This particular team has done me dividends for a very, very long time. The quick Free Spirit team has the ability to just survive. You have healing after healing after healing. Lots of people don't realize how tanky this team is. And then obviously with Zoro and his revives and stuff like that, you can even run Gear 5 on this team as well, instead of Red Rock Luffy, and just have him with his revive and just buffing the Free Spirit team. With Frankie, having less units is better, because the less amount of units you have, the better his passive actually is. You actually get HP cuts with him, and you can do some really, really cool stuff there. This team works exceptionally well, because people think, hey, I'll just bring a Dex team and I'll just clap it. Well, Dex doesn't move that fast unless you're bringing a complete quick counter-based team. So something like this works really, really well. But as I mentioned, you can easily run Gear 5 Luffy instead to do some really, really fun stuff there. And you could just build out this sort of Free Spirit-centric kit and get some stuff done there. So that works really well, really, really well. But another option is the shooter team. Shooters have been very, very good defensively for quite a while now. Shooters have a lot of healing. They can sort of stall out fights. You have a lot of timeout options with this particular team as well. And they have recently got some extra buffs and stuff like Uta and Fuji and Kizaru. This particular boa I really like, but you have another option in Ace, this particular Super Tandem Ace. He works exceptionally well. And the whole team is very quick and side-based. So Kuzan works exceptionally well here as well. So this team works dividends. The classes of like Powerhouse, Fighters, Shooters, Cerebral, all work exceptionally well with these timeout sort of shenanigans. However, Strikers, Free Spirit, Slashers, they always tend to be the best when it comes to the PvP meta. Speaking of Cerebrals and Powerhouse characters, you can do some really, really fun stuff with these particular class-based teams. Lots of people don't really know exactly what newer characters do that don't fit into the attacking-based meta. And Cerebrals was one of those characters that kind of flew under the radar. They could stall out strats with stuff like Chopper and Shankscrew. You have a lot of damage with stuff like Black Maria and Robin Koala, especially against Free Spirit characters. Plus, they have access to stuff like Doflamingo at the back. So, another strat is to use these types of units to your advantage to sort of bait out some people to not know exactly what they're fighting and just dive in with a generic team off the top of their gnome that says, hey, this team works for pretty much everything, but has, say, a lot of free spirits on it, and then gets absolutely decimated. Stuff like this particular team, where they dive in, they see, okay, well, you have a bunch of Dex units here. Let's dive in with a strength team, and we should be Gucci. And then stuff like Who's Who and Katakuri goes absolutely AWOL with a Powerhouse built meta. It can do some really, really cool stuff. These teams aren't foolproof, and obviously, like, if people know what they're looking at, and they know what teams work best against them, then they are going to work to the full capacity of what I'm saying, but they are another option when it comes to defending. Running 8-man teams in defensive options rather than a 6-man team like you see here is a little bit more detrimental, though, because people see 8-man teams and go, nah, skip. Remember, that refresh button is your best friend when it comes to championship, and ideally, you can just keep spamming it over and over and over and over again. But that can get very annoying, can get very boring, and people like to sort of just fight something when they see it. So teams like this can work very, very well, or you can even go a different option and build out a very class-based team within a color, and then throw on a really baity unit like a Kainu, for example. This particular team works actually quite well because people see all of the Dex units, they go, yes, awesome, I'm going to run my strength team. A Kainu says hello, he's a Powerhouse unit, so he gets buffed by Pell, he buffs himself. The rest of the team is Powerhouse as well. Luffy gives revives to Dex as well, so if, like, those units go crazy and they die, you can just revive. And then once a Kainu does die, because he's not getting a lot of buffs, you have Dofi to just come in and just clean house at the back end as well. So you can do some really, really cool stuff with some baity options here as well. But all in all, when it comes to defending, you can sort of just throw together whatever the hell you like. You could just throw together a team that has all of these characters on it. Looks a little bit like this. People just don't know what they're doing and sort of just click on it and they just go for it. But just be mindful, if you throw up teams like this one right here, there's a good chance that you're not going to get defensive wins because no one's going to fight it. Again, the refresh button is your best friend. You keep spamming it over and over and over again until you find a team that you know you can beat. However, that will sacrifice you some points sometimes depending on when you refresh. And I do believe Bandai do need to implement something to stop that. But for now, that's what we have. And if you run teams like this, you're probably going to find that no one's going to fight them. Ideally, you want to avoid the characters that you see down here. It's going to get to a point where you can't and you have to fight one of them. But eventually, you are going to have to go up against them. Eventually, everyone's going to be using them. And eventually, you have to find a team that actually works for you. So all in all, when it comes to defending, don't overthink it too much. See what's working. Test some stuff out. Because remember, if you lose some fights with your defensive teams, it's not the end of the world. But remember, if you are fighting, this particular update button right here, it is your best friend. You can just sit here and you can just press this button until you find a team that you know you can beat. And from there, you're basically just going to be Gucci. But that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.